to the two dots on Ayin Hey Amid Beis. And I don't know, started.
Ayin Hey.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. I think we're technically recording right now. So we're gonna get started. We are on Ayin Gimel Amid Beis. We are in middle of the Agadata Gemara. Ozzy, we're gonna be deep in Eov today. So I'm gonna be leaning on you today. But either way, we are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines from the bottom by the parentheses by the siman. So the Gemara says again, we are smack in the middle of these stories, of these these intense agadatas, and that's pretty much going to be most of the day today. So siman, ka'afra, ditchelta, trakte, akraba, and le salte. What's interesting about the siman, and the art scroll points out, is that one of the third of the simanim. Each of these simanim, as we'll see, represent one of the stories. Trakte, I think, means like to sting or something like that. And the art scroll points out that none of the stories have to do with anyone being stung. So they think it might actually be a mistake. But either way, so they're in the desert and they come across, as we'll see, the world's greatest tour guide. These Arab merchants. To have a shakal afra, they were able to take afar, umariachle, and they could just smell it. And va'amar ha'urcha l'duchta plan, va'ha'urcha l'duchta plan. So this is well before Waze, and they were able to literally take afar, smell it, and know which way to go, in directions. So amrle kamar chakina mimaya. How far away are we from water? Va'amarlan habula afra. I'm gonna give us some afar, give us some dirt. Yavina leva amarlan tamni parsi. They're 8 parsim away. So tanina be'avina to try this again somewhere else. Amarlan de Marchlakina plus a parsi, only 3 parsim away. So aflasle, we actually switched up the samples to test them. These guys really knew what they were doing with these samples of dirt. So Amar Ali, so these merchants said to us, like, you haven't seen anything yet, right? Ta'achrilach meisei midbar. We'll show you all the people that died in the midbar. We know where they are. So Azli and Chasasinu, Vidamu, Kaman, Demivsimi, we saw that these people, the corpses, they looked like they had like a yellowish complexion. They looked like they had been drinking. And Vaganu Apirke, they were laying on their backs. And I guess kind of in the same theme of yesterday, they were just very large people. So Vahavas the Kifa, Birke, one of them had their knee extended in the air, one of these corpses. And just to show you how large these people were, the knee was extended in the air. Va'ayel Taya, Posni Birke, this Arab tour guide, merchant, right? He was able to go underneath the knee, Kirachav Gamla, while riding a donkey. There's a Kifa Romche while he had his spear upwards. A camel. And while he had his spear upwards and below Naga base, we're on the third line, Ayin Dalid Amid Aleph. And he didn't hit the knee. So you just kind of see how large these people were. Something that's fascinating that the art scroll he brings down, apparently this is Kesef Mishnah Hilchos Avelos. We actually learn from this story that we bury people on their backs because the people were buried in the sand on their backs. I didn't know that, but interesting. So either way, they in Menachos, which I've never learned, but in Menachos there is a big machlokas Beisham Beis Hillel about tzitzis. Our tzitzis is supposed to be 3 strings doubled over to make 6, or 4 strings doubled over to make 8. Obviously, we paskin 4 strings to make 8 because that's not what our tzitzis is. That's actually Fitas Beis Shammai, which is super unique. We almost never paskin like Beis Shammai. We always paskin like Beis Hillel. But in this particular thing, we paskin like Beis Shammai. Either way, Rabbi Bar Chana sees these corpses. I guess they're wearing tzitzis, I guess. I don't know. So paski chara karna chelta dechaminai. So he literally cut off the corner to like show everyone back home. This is what they did. This is what their tzitzis look like. But below havim stagalan. The second he did that, no one was able to move anymore. So Amar Li, the Arab tour guide, said, Dilma shaklis mini minai. Did someone steal something from these corpses? Because ahadra, you got to return it. To Gemiri, we've learned demand shakla mini minayu lo mistagile. If you take anything from them, you're not going to be able to move. So Azli adriti, so you got to have to give it back. And then they moved on. They made the Rabbanan when they came back to town. We told the Rabbanan the story. Amruli, they said, "Call Abba Chamar." Anyone with the name of Abba is foolish like a Chamar. His name was Rabba Bar Chana, but the Rashbam says his real name was Rav Abba Bar Chana. So this is saying they were kind of referring to him. But called Bar Chana Sichsa, same thing, right? His name was Rabba Bar Chana. Anyone with that name is foolish. Lamai hilchsa avatachu. Why did you cut off their tzitzis? Lemeda ikvei shama ikvei sil. You wanted to know how we paskin. But ibayala lemim nechutim lemim nechutis. Right, have to take it. Just look at it. We'll trust you. You know, you don't have to cut off their tzitzis. So Amar Li, they were not done with their tour. So the Arab tour guide said, "Come and ta'achvilech Arsinai. We'll show you Arsinai." So Azli Chazayu Dahadrili Akravai the Kaimiki Chamra Chivartis. So Arsina was surrounded by these white scorpions. Presumably, they were also very large. So they almost looked like donkeys. Shamati Bas Kol She'omeres. Rabbi Bachana is saying over. You heard a Bas Kol that said, "Oy li shenishpati, babachsh shenishpati mi meferli oy that I made the shvua to put all the Bnei Israel in galus, and now that I have, what can I do about it?" And we know that whenever someone makes a shvua or a net or something like that, you can do a farsis harm. You need a bezdin, right, which we're all going to do in a few weeks, or you just need a dayan mumcha, and they can say, you know, meferlach or whatever it is. So ki asla kamed rabbanan amruli, they said the same thing. Call Abba Chamra and call Barbar Chana Sichsa, right? They were basically saying you were foolish. Right? Why didn't you just you clearly are capable, so why didn't you could have taken us all out of Galus, right? Bavu Savar, Dilma Shvua Sadamabalu. He said, I don't know what Shvua the Baskel's talking about. Maybe it was the Shvua by the Mabel that said, I'll never create another Mabel anymore. I kind of want that one to stick around. So I didn't want to be made for this one. But Rabbanan, what were the Rabbanan saying? In Cain, lama. Like, why would the Baskel be like regretting that Shvua? It sounds like he was regretting the Shvua, probably because it was something bad for the Jewish people. Either way. So Amar Li, the merchants weren't done. This is one heck of a tour. Ta'achvi lach belue de Korach. We'll show you Korach ba'adasa, where they are right now. Hazai trey bize, we saw two cracks in the ground. Vavaka mafski kutra. The smoke was coming out. It was like, near Gehenna or something like that. So it was obviously very hot. Shakal gabba de amra. These Arabs, they took wool. The amshana b'mayr, they soaked it. Uda atzise v'rosha de rumcha, they put it on the head of a spear. The Aile Hasam, they dropped it into the ground in these cracks. And it was so hot that notwithstanding the fact that this wool was wet, it still came out singed. Amar Li, my Shemak, put your head to the ground and listen to what you hear. Shamas Tahavi Amrin, Moshe V'Taraso Emes, Vehain Badain. And they said Moshe V'Taraso Emes, Vehain, referring to themselves, Badain are the liars. Mar Li, call close in Yom every 30 days. Mahadalu Gehenim Lahacha. I guess Gehenim, has some sort of rotating feature. So today was the day that clearly this tour guide knows what he's doing. Today was the day that they're close to the ground that you could actually hear them. But Kibasar B'Klachas, they like a rotisserie, but Amri Hachi, and they're always saying Moshe V'Taraso Emes Vehain Badain. Amar Li, keep going.
My question is,
I will not know the answer. I can tell you right now.
Is that when they say first Moshe V'Taraso Emes, and then say we are liars?
Oh yeah.
So sir, what they just said.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Amar Li. So we're just moving on in these agaritas. So ta'achvilach hecha de nashki ara or rakia ahadardi. So I guess this is the last trick, the last stop on the tour. We're going to show you the place where the land and the rakia meet. So okay, they went to this place and shaklata l'stil tai esnachla v'kavsa de rakia. And I guess Rabbi Rachana had his lunch and put his lunch in a certain window. I don't know if it was literally a window, but some spot that made sense to put his thing. And then he went at a matzlina, he went to go pop it, whatever it is. And when he came back, the lunch wasn't there. So Amina lay, like, what's going on over here? Did someone steal my lunch? So I'm really no. I galgala de rakia udahadar. The rakia also kind of like rotates a little bit on a daily basis. So you put your thing there, but it's not there anymore right now. If you come at the exact same time tomorrow, it'll make its full rotation and you can grab your lunch tomorrow. That is the end of the stories of Rabbi Rachana, but that is not the end of these agaritas. Rabbi Yochanan would say over the following story that Zimna Chada Havaka Zilna Vespinta, he was once on a ship, Chazina Nuhu Kabra, saw a certain fish, the Afkila Resha, Mimaya would stick its head out of the water, but Damian Ainek Tracy Hari, its eyes looked like two moons, enough its Maya Mitarti Zimi, and water gushed from its nostrils, Katre Mavre de Sura, like the two rivers of Sura. All right, that's the end of that story. Rav Safra would say the following story that Zimna Chada Havaka Zilna Bespinte and Chazina who Kabra, he was once on a ship and he saw this fish. The Afkilaration, the fish took its head out of the water. The Havale Karne, the fish had horns. The Chakik Ale, and engraved on the horns was the following: Ana Birya Kala Shabiyam. I am a small creature of the sea, which, as we'll see, was massive. The Havina Klas Ma Parsi, it was 300 parsahos. The Zilna Lapuma the Leviathan, and I'm destined to go be the Leviathan's lunch. Amar of Ashi Hahu Iza Diyamahu. This fish is what's known as the Iza Diyama. I'm good, thank you. The Bechisha Ve'itla Karne. It searches for its food and it has horns. So Rav Ashi, I guess, was aware of what this fish was. But okay, and we're going to learn a whole lot more about the Leviathan in a bit. Rav Yochanan Mishai, Rav Yochanan would say over the following story: that Zimna Chada Havaka Azilna Bespinta. Once we were on a ship, Chazina and Ayukar Talisa, and we saw a certain valuable chest, right? The Havaka Mikbai Ba'avanim Tovim Margalios was holding these very precious stones and things like that. Bahadra La Mine de Kavri de Mikri Karsha, and these fish that were protecting it, they were called these Karsha. I don't know what they were. Sounds like they were not things you want to mess with. But either way, Nachis Bar Amarayla Asuye, someone on our ship was a diver. They tried to go bring this very valuable chest, but Viragash, the fish, sensed him. And they tried to kill him, whatever it was. So Vishada Zika the Chala. But this guy came prepared, this diver. So he had a bottle full of vinegar, and he chucked the bottle of vinegar over at these fish. The nachas, and because of the smell of the vinegar, the fish went away. So all of a sudden, now the chest is there for this diver to take. Mm-hmm. But out of nowhere, right, Nafak Baskal and Amarlan, my Isluchu Bahadi Kartalisa, the Bisud Rabbi Chanina Bendosa. What do you have to do with this chest that's here for the wife of Rabbi Chanina Bendosa? The Asira de Shadia Tcheltaba, the Tchelas will be kept in it, the Tzadike, the Alma, the Ase. So who's Chanina Bendosa? So the Gemara and Bracha says that every single day a Baskal will come from Shemaim and say that Chanina Bendosa, he sustains the entire world. Him and his wife, they were an incredibly pious couple. They lived on virtually nothing. And I guess the point is this chest was, for them and people like them. And I think if you read the art scroll, I don't read it for every single one, but this one says that I think the purpose of this, the interpretation of this one is kind of something like people want the easy way out, but this chest was reserved for the people that lived, a life of piety or whatever it is. You can't just, take it or something like that. Either way, Rabbi Yehuda Hindua Mishnah, Rabbi Yehuda Hindua, he had the following story. One time he was on a ship. Similar, there was a certain precious stone. But there was a tani, there was a sea monster that was guarding it. And Nachas Bar Muraila Suye, the diver went to go fight the sea monster and go get it. But Asa Tanina Kambai Lemivla Laspinta, and the sea monster comes and it's gonna eat up everyone on the ship. Asa Pishkansa and Pascula Reshe, some female raven comes and chops off the head of the sea monster. And Asapihu Maya Bahabadama, there was so much blood from this creature that like the water looked like it was blood, So Asa Tanina Chavre, all of a sudden another sea monster comes, gets the stone, and Shakle Vitalyale, and he puts it on the dead sea monster, and it's Bechaya, and it brings it back to life. So clearly the stone had supernatural powers to heal, dead things. So now you can imagine the sea monster was really upset, right? So Hadar Asa Kabai Balalasmin. Now it comes back to swallow the ship the second time. Hadar Asa Tzipra and Pascularation, but the bird comes back and takes his head off again. Either way, the divers are like, we're just getting out of here. So Shaklu Alahi Avantava, somehow they were able to get the stone and they threw it back on the ship, Shajul Sfinte, and they were going to make their way home. The problem is they put the stone on their lunch, right? They had these, dead, salted birds that I guess they were going to eat. And the stone, when it goes on the birds, and Shaklua, the birds came alive, right? That's what the stone does. So these dead birds that were supposed to be lunch are now alive, and they flew off with the stone. So that's how that story ended. Again, Tanu Rabbanan, Ma'aser Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Yeshua.
Tune into the
Seriously. Tanu Rabbanan, Ma'aser Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Yeshua. Shahayi Bayim B'Smina. They were once on a ship. Rabbi Elazar Yashin. Rabbi Eliezer happened to be sleeping. Rabbi Yeshua Neyar, and Rabbi Yeshua was awake. And his dazer Rabbi Yeshua, and Rabbi Yeshua trembled. He saw something and he trembled. Venina Rabbi Eliezer, and Rabbi Eliezer was like woken up. So Amar Lo, it's Mazi Yeshua. Like, what are you doing waking me up? The Dayman is daza, like what's going on? Calm down. Amar Lo, Ma'ar Gadol Reisibiyam. I saw something big, great, light in the sea. Shema Amar Lo, Shema Einav Shalav Yasan. Maybe what you saw were the eyes of the Lav Yasan. Chsiv Einav the Apape Shachar. Pasuk in Eov. Eov, I guess, I'm learning that Eov deals with this parak, this man, Malach. They deal with the Leviathan, and this behemoth. So again, these are creatures that were formed in the Maisa Bereshis. The Leviathan, was the thing in the sea. The behemoth is some sort of other creature, some behema. Sometimes it's referred to as the behemoth, like LF something, as we'll see in the Gemara, because Rashi and Tehillim says that it was so big it can graze on like thousands of fields in a given day. So these are just massive, massive creatures that we're about to learn a whole bunch about. So Amar Rav Asher, Amar Lihuna Bar Nasan, Zimna Shtaga Havaka Zilna B'Madra. We were once going in the Midbar, Bahavai Atma, the Bishra Bahadan. We had meat with us, and we had to kosher the meat. So Psach Nakrina, we had to cut it open, we had to cut off the chayla, we had to get on Asha, all that kind of stuff. And they did whatever they needed to do. But Anachna Isbe, they had to go, and they had to go. They put it on spices and things like that. And Adamaisinan Sevi. So first they, what's it called, did the meat, got it ready to grill, and then to go find firewood. Problem is, Adamaisinan Sevi, while they were going to get the wood, Cholam Atma, the meat regenerated from, I don't know, something. So Vitavinan, so they ended up cooking it anyway, or whatever it is, and I'm assuming it was kosher still, but Kihadron, when they came back, Labasar Tracer Yarchishata, 12 months later, Chazina Lahadu Gumri Dahabaka Malachashi. We saw that the coals were still like glowing a year later. So Kiasai Kameda Amemra, when we told the Amemra the story, Amarli Au Isva, Samtere Hava, the spices that you used were Samtere, which I guess have these healing powers, the supernatural ability to heal, and therefore the meat that you cut kind of regenerated. And Au Gumri, the Rismahavu, and the coals that you used were rosum wood, which I guess stays lit for a very long time, 12 months. So that's what's going on over there. Vayivra Elokim is a Taninim Agadolim. Took him in Bereshis that Hashem created these Taninim. Hacha Targimo in Babel, they translated the Taninim as Arzile Diyama. Yesterday's daf, we learned about the Re'im, that maybe it's almost like a unicorn or something like that. But so that's how it was translated, these Re'imim of the sea. Rabbi Yochanan Amar is the Leviathan Nachash Bariach, the Leviathan Nachash Hakalatzon. This is the male and the female Leviathan. Shenemar, and this is a pasuk in Yeshaya. Bayomahu Yivkor Hashem Echarbo Akasha, and it's really the Vagomer that does most of the work. Akasha Hagadola Vachazaka, Alav Nachash Bariach, Alav Nachash Akalatzon. Simin, Kol, Sha'a, and Yardin. So Amar Bidam Arab. So again, we have two Leviathans. Kol Ma Shabarak Kadosh Baruch Hu Ba'olamo Zachor Nekeva Baram. Whatever Hashem creates, He creates a male and a female version. Af Leviathan Nachash Bariach, but Leviathan Nachash Akalatzon. Zachor Nekeva Baram. The Ilmalin is Kakan Zelazet, and if the two should mate and have children, Machrivin Kol Olam Kulam. Ma Kadosh Baruch Hu. So what did Kadosh Baruch Hu do to avoid this? Sires Es HaZachar. He castrated the Zachar, Baharag and Akeva, and he killed the Nekeva, and he preserved her for the Asalavo. Seems like a little belt and suspenders, if you ask me. I don't know why both were necessary, but either way. Shenemar, that is the end of the last pasuk in Shai that we just read. Okay, so Bahemos Bahare Elef. We said there was this other creature, this massive animal, land animal. So that one too was Zachar and Nekeva Baram. He created kind of two versions of it, Zachar and Nekeva. The Ilmoli is talking to the exact same thing. Had they mated with each other, Machar even call Olam Kulos, Masa Kadosh Baruch Hu. So Sires is the Zachar. He did the same thing to the Zachar, but Bitsine and Hanakeva, he didn't kill the Nekeva. He just made her unemotional, so she wouldn't want to mate with the Zachar. The Shamra, the Tzadikim, La'asid Lavo, and then the female version was saved for the Tzadikim La'asid Lavo. Shenamar Hinena Kocho b'Masnav Zachar and Ba'ono b'Sharire Vidno Zunekeva. The Gemara asked, I don't understand. Nami, like, why did Hashem need to kill the female Leviathan? Why not just make her unemotional, right? So the Gemara answers Dug and Prite. Fish are a different ball game. Even if she was unemotional, they could still mate. Wasn't going to be so V'le'eved Ipcha. So why not kill the male and keep the female around? Why did he have to kill the female and keep the male around? So the Gemara answers Ibayasim and Nekeva Malichamali. Well, it could be the Nekeva, she just tastes better. So if you're going to preserve for the Tzadikim Lasad Lavo, you might as well preserve the Nekeva. And Ibayasei Makeva and the Chsiv, since the pasuk says in Baruch Nafshi, Leviathan Zeh Yitzarta L'Sachek Bo, to play with the Leviathan, Bahari Nekeva Lavarachara. It wouldn't be appropriate to say that Hashem Kaviyachol is playing with the female version of the Leviathan, so that's why he kept the male one around. So when it comes to the behema. We said that the nekeva wasn't killed and salted. Why not? Why not kill the behema and salt it for la'asad lavo? Kavra malicha male, fish is good. Bishra malicha lomali, but I guess jerky not as good. Okay, to each his own. I don't know, but sounds good. When Hashem wanted to create the world, he said to the star of the sea. So you can imagine, I guess the world had already started to be created, and all of the land mass is just hidden underneath all the water. So he needs to pull away the water to uncover the land. So Hashem said to the star Shal Yam, listen, I need you to open your mouth, swallow up the waters, and expose the world. But very relatable. This guy probably had enough on his plate already, whatever his 9 to 5 was. And Amar Lafanav, he said, Rabbonu Shalom, Dai Shemad B'Shali. Listen, I'm drowning in my work. Pun intended, I'm drowning. But I got enough going on. I have to regulate the seawater as it is, right? I can't do this. That was not the right answer. So Miyad Ba'et Bo V'Hargo, Hashem immediately killed the Sar Shal Yam. Shenemar B'Kocho Raga Hayam, Usfunaso Machatz Rahav. This is a pasuk in Eov. Rav Yitzchak Shma Mina, from the end of the pasuk, it says Usfunaso Machatz Rahav. I think literally it means apparently proud, but he said Rav Yitzchak says from here Sar Shal Yam Rahav Shmo. It sounds like Rahav was killed. And if not for the fact he's at the bottom of the ocean, if not for the fact that the water covers him up, no one could take his stench of the carcass. And Nemar lo yoreu v'lo yashchisu v'chalar kachi kamaim liyam mechasim. So I'll have to create the yam mechasim. Don't say it's like the yam that's covering it, but the sara shal yam mechasim. So maybe there's some reference or whatever it is. So the water is covering the sar shel yam. Amar Rabbi Yudam Yardain Yotze Mima'aras Pamias. The Jordan River comes out from the cave of Pamias. We have a brisa that says something similar. Yardain Yotze Mima'aras Pamias. The river, the Jordan River, comes from Pamias, and it goes through the Yam of Sivchi, Yam Shal Tveria, and through the Kinneret. And it goes to the Mediterranean. And it goes until the mouth of the Levyasan. Shenemar Yiftach Yarden El Piu. And I don't know, this is a pasuk in Eov. Apparently, from the context in Eov, it actually sounds like this pasuk is not referring to the Levyasan, it's referring to the Behema. So Maskal Rava Bar Ula, hi, but Behemos Bahari Eleftiv. This pasuk isn't referring to the Levyasan, it's referring to the Behema, right? It's the Behema is Betuach in our Yiftach when things come into its mouth. So Ella Amar Rava Bar Ula, Emas Behemos, Bahari Elef Betuchos, Bismanch Magiach Yardain Bepiv Shel Levyasan. You're right. The pasuk is referring to the Behemos. It's saying when is the Behemos? When is he confident? When the Levyasan has what to eat. And if you look at the second to last Rashbam on the page, Emasai Behemos Bahari Elef Betuchos says Shlo Yemusa. How does the Behemos know he's still going to stay alive? Kol Shah Shegiach Yardain Lepiv Shel Levyasan. Because Mancha Huchai Betuchen Hein Kamochain. For whatever reason, the Behemos, he knows that as long as the Levyasan remains alive, for some reason, he's going to remain alive. All of this is well above my pay grade. I don't understand any of it, but that's what the Rashbam says. Simin, Yamim, Gavriel, and Ra'ev, and we're going to learn a little bit of geography. So, Kiasar of Dimi, Amr of Yochanan, when Rav Dimi came back to Bavel from Eretz Yisrael, he would say in the name of Rav Yochanan, Ma'idach Sivki, Hu al Yamim Yisada, Al Naharos Yichon Neha. Anyone is curious, when are we going to say this pasuk? It's at the end of davening today. It's in the Sunday's Shir Shal Yom. So Elu Shiva Yamim Barba Naharos. These are the sea. These are the 7 seas and the 4 rivers from Akiv and Eretz Yisrael. The Elu Ein Shiva Yamim. These are the 7 seas. Yamashal Tveria. That one we know. That's the Kinneret. Yamashal Sdom. That's the Dead Sea. Yamashal Chelas. Our scroll tells us maybe this is a lot. Yamashal Chilta. That I think we just don't really know. Yamashal Sifchi and Yama Espamia. But Yama Gadol, the Mediterranean. The Elu Ein Arba Naharos. These are the rivers. Yardain, the Jordan River. Yarmuch, the Hiromion, Ufigan. Other ones that I'm not sure we know about. Kiasar of Dimi, Amr of Yonasan, Asid Gavriel, Laasos, Kenigya im Levyasan. Gavriel is going to hunt and fish the Levyasan. Shenamar, Hatimshoch Levyasan Becheka. Can you draw out the Levyasan with a hook? Chevel Tashkia Lashono, or whatever different ways of hunting the Levyasan. And if not for the fact that Hashem would help him, Ein Yachalo Shenamar, Ha'oso Yagesh Charba. Okay. Asar of Dimi, Amr of Yochanan. Bishash Levyasan, right? When the Levyasan is hungry, how does he hunt? Moti Hebel Mipiv. He breathes, and that Martiach Klamemos Mitzula that makes the waters, I don't know, something. That's his hunting method. Shenamar Yartiach Kasir Mitzula. He makes frothy the deep like a seething cauldron. So again, that is a pasuk again in Eov. But Vilmale Machna Toshla Eden, kind of similar to the previous Gemara. There's a certain stench that has to do with this Levyasan, and if not for the fact that he was able to lift his head into Gan Eden, Ein Kol Birya Yechol Lama Berecha, no one could withstand the odor. Shnamar Yam Yasim Kiberkacha. I guess he sounds like he makes the sea almost like a good smell, probably from Gan Eden. Ubishash Tatsame, what does he do when he's thirsty? Osa Tlumin Bayam. He drinks such an amount of water that it creates such an, I guess, an imbalance or something, that it creates waves and furrows and things like that. Shnamar Achar of Yair Nasib, probably also in Yov. Amar of Achar Yaakov ain't a home chosrel Esano at Shivim Shana. When he drinks that much water, the depths of the sea doesn't go back to what it was for 70 years. That's how long it takes for the sea to regenerate after this Levyasan takes a big drink. Shnamar Yachshop to home Seba. Makes the deep like an older person, and we know Vein Seva Seva is always you never refer to someone as Seva unless they were 70 years old. Amar Rav Yochanan. That's something that we said earlier, that the meat of the Levyasan is being saved for the tzaddikim. Shenamar Yichru alav chabarim, that the chabarim will feast upon it. The word yichru is a reference to they will have a su'uda. The Gemara says, "Ve'ein keira ala su'uda." Namar v'yichra lehem keira gedola v'yochlu v'yishtu. I believe it's Psukim and Malachim Beis. Malachim Beis. There we go. Ve'ein chabarim ela talmidei chachamim. And chabarim, when the pasuk said yichru alav chabarim, it's referring to talmidei chachamim. Shenamar hayoshavas beganim chaverim akshivim lakolei chashmiini. That's in Shir Hashirim. Bashar Mechalkan also, and what's going to be when the Talmidei Chachamim, when they've had their fill, so the rest of it is given out. But it's just traded in the marketplaces of Yerushalayim. Shnemar Yechatzuhu Bein Knanim, and we'll see Bein Knanim El Tagarim. The word Knanim is a reference to the Tagarim, the merchant. Shnemar Knan Biyado Mozni Mirma Laso La Shok Ahev. That is in Hosea. I don't know. Okay. A different pasuk. Okay. So basically, the Levyasan is going to be for the tzaddikim, but the leftovers are going to be able to be sold and eaten in the marketplaces of Yerushalayim. Amar Rav Yochanan. Hashem is going to make a sukkah for the tzaddikim, a oro shel Levyasan, from the skin of the Levyasan, the hide. Shenamar ismale basukos oro. Okay. Zacha. So we'll see if a person's at like the highest madrega, so oslo sukkah. That's you're going to be able to enjoy this sukkah. Lo zacha oslo tziltzil. If you're not on that madrega, you're going to benefit from the shade of the, not sitting in the sukkah, but you'll benefit from the shade. Shnemar of tziltzil dagim rosho. Zacha oslo tziltzil. So we said if you're on that madrega, you get the shade. But lo zacha, if you're not at that madrega, oslo anak. You at least get some sort of necklace from this Levyasan. Shnemar ba'anakim lagargaro secha. Zacha oslo anak. Lo zach. What's the next madrega? Oslo kamil. You get some sort of amulet. Shnemar v'tikshirenu l'naro secha. V'hashar. What about everyone else? Parso HaKadosh Baruch Hu al chomos Yerushalayim. God, He's going to spread out the Levyasan on the walls of Yerushalayim. Zivo ma'apik misopa olam v'ad sopo, and the splendor will shine literally from sea to shining sea. Shnemar v'hochu gaim le'orech u'mlachim le'noga zerchech. These are all psukim, I believe. No, not all in Eov. Some in Mishlei, but a lot of them in Eov. And now we're going to kind of pivot to just talking about Yemos HaMashiach and Yerushalayim. Again, well above my pay grade. Samti Kadkod Shimsho Sayich. So, Psukim and Yeshaya talk about the walls are going to be made from this certain stone, Kadkod. So, Amar Shmuel Bar Nachmani, Pligi Trey Malachi Berakia. There was a machlokas in two, Malachi Berakia, Gabriel and Michal, Amrila, Trey Amarai Marava. It wasn't necessarily two Malachim that were disagreeing. It was two Amoraim, Uman Inun, Yehuda v'Chizkiah, Bnei Reb Chia. These are the sons of Reb Chia. So again, the stones are called Kadkod. Chadamar Shoham, Chadamar Yashve. One said that this is a Shoham stone and this is a Yashva stone. Amar Hu HaKadosh Baruch Hu L'Havi Kedain U'Kedain. It's a little play on words. Kadkod is Kedain U'Kedain. So the Rashbam kind of speaks out and he says, I don't even understand. This is a pasuk that was like hundreds of years, I mean, thousands, I don't know, hundreds of years prior to the Amoraim. And he said that was the prophecy, that was Kad Kod. It was whatever the people decide it's going to be, that's what these stones are going to be. Usha Arayach La'avnei Dach. Fascinating story. So we're going to make the gates out of these stones. So Kiyad Yasser Rav Yochanan Kadarish. Hashem is going to bring these precious stones, massive precious stones. 30 amos by 30 amos. What's that? Like 80 feet, 80 by 80? What's 30 amos? 100? I don't know. Very, 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 very big. Precious stones that are massive. And you're going to carve out space that's 10 by 20 for the gates. Lig label a level. So Talmud, one of the Talmidim was sitting in Shir and he was like, come on, that's ridiculous. We can't even find a stone the size of a small egg, not even a chicken egg, like a dove egg. Kuli high mashkechina. You're going to tell me there's going to be precious stones that are 100 feet or whatever it is. So liyamim, ligas finas bayam. This Ben Azmanim, the student, was going back home and he was on a ship. And Chaza Malach Asharis, the Yafi, Kamansri, Abanam Tovas and Margalios, and he sees these Malach Asharis that are sawing these stones, Shehem Shloshim al Shloshim, that are these massive stones. And he literally sees they're cutting out a space that's 10 by 20. So Amar Lu, he said to these Malach Asharis, Hani Laman, what are these for? These are, soon Hashem is going to put them by Yerushalayim. So the next man, whenever he saw Rabbi Yochanan again, Asal Kamed Rabbi Yochanan, and he probably thought he was doing a good thing. He said, Amar Le, Drosh Rabbi, he said, continue to give shir. L'cha na'ale Drosh, you are fit to give shir. Kasher Amar Takain Risi, I saw exactly what you said. That was clearly the wrong thing to say to Rabbi Yochanan. Amar Lo, Reika, you empty person. El Mole Lo Reisa Lo Amanta, you needed to see it in order to believe. Melagle Galdivrei Chachamim Amata, you are someone who mocks Divrei Chachamim, Nasan Einavo, and Nasa Gal Shalat Samos. And all of a sudden he killed him on the spot. He became a Gal Shalat Samos. There's a number of stories about Rabbi Yochanan that he I think
severe man.
He was yeah. So again, either way. So I'm sure there are deeper meetings to every single one of these stories. I mean, there definitely are deeper meetings. But exactly. Meisve. But the bottom line is, what's the point? The Gemara is about to ask Kasha. It sounds like the gates of Yerushalayim were only 30 amos, 20 amos, 10 amos, whatever the stories were, and we'll see. It sounds like they're actually much larger. So Meisve va'olech eschem komemios. This is the pasuk in Vayikra, Sefer Vayikra, not Parshas Vayikra. But it talks the Chukosai. Reb Meir Omer, what does it mean that Hashem is going to lead us to very great heights? Reb Meir Omer Masayim Ama Komos Shel Adam Arishon. It's 2 komemios. It's 2 komos, and it's twice the size of Adam Arishon. It was 100 amos, so it's 200 amos. Reb Yehuda Omer Mea Ama Keneged Heichal Uksala. Reb Yehuda says no, it's 100 amos Keneged the Heichal and Uksala. What do we see from all this? And he proves Shnamar Asher Beninu Kenetim Megudalim Ben Ram Ben Osena Kuzavios Mechutavas Tav Neseichel. But the point is that the Heichal is 100. But what are you telling me? The gates are only 20 amos, 30 amos. They should really be much higher. Gamar Rabbi Yochanan on the Kaveh de Bezika. Rabbi Yochanan is just talking about the windows in the Shari. But you're right, the Shari would actually be that much greater. He's going to make 7 chupos for each tzaddik. Anan Yomam. If you look at the puzzle, there are like 7 different words. Anan Yomam, the Ashan, the Noga, Eish, Lahava, Laila. So each one of these resembles a certain chuppah, and Ki al Kavod chuppah. Okay. So Malamed should call Echad ve'Echad Oslo Kodesh Baruch Hu chuppah lebikvodo. So each and every, I guess, depending on your merit, you're going to get a different chuppah, whatever it is. So the Gemara says, okay, I mean, fine, but Ashan b'chuppah, why in the world do we need smoke in a chuppah, right? So Amar Chanina should call me she'enav tsaros b'tamidei chacham v'olam hazeh. Anyone who is stingy with the tamidei chachamim in this world, nismalos enav asha. So I guess that's why the smoke is in the chuppah. So it's going to mess up this guy. His eyes will become filled with smoke. L'olam haba. Eish v'chuppah lamos. Why do we need eish in the chuppah? Amar Chanina malamed shekol echad ve'echad nichveh mechupas shekaver. It's kind of a chilling thought that in the olam haba you're going to see your neighbor and you're almost going to be like shamed. Right? You're going to say like, oh, if only I spent more time doing whatever it was, I could have been like that chuppah. And now it's too late. I'm only in my chuppah, whatever it is. Omer. This is Moshe talking to Yoshua. or sorry, this is Hashem talking to Moshe about Yoshua, said you have to place mehod, you should take some of your hod and put it on Yoshua. Kol hod, but not all of your hod, only some of your hod. Zekanim shabosu adar amru pnei Moshe k'pnei Chama. His face was like the pnei Chama, pnei Yoshua k'pnei Levana. He was only like the pnei Levana. Ay la la osa busha, ay la la osa klima. Amr Chama bar Chanina. Esther chupos asa kadosh baruch hu adam harishon b'gan Eden. There were 10 chupos that Hashem made for Adam Harishon. Shenemar ke Eden gan Elokim ha'isa kol Evan Yikara v'gomer. Again, all the work is being done in the v'gomer. So we look at the pasuk says pasuk in Yechezkel. So Evan Yikara Mezuzach Odem Pitata Yalom Tarsha Shoam Yashba Sapir Nofech Ubarkas v'Zahav. That's 10 different chuppahs. So Marzutra Amar Achazasrei, there's actually an 11th. Shnamar Kol Even Yikara. The Kol Even is really a reference to the 11th stone. And Amar Rabbi Yochanan, look to get a sense of how great these stones were. Garua Shabakulan Zav. Zav was the lowest quality of all of them. It was the last in the list. Okay, whatever this means. My Melechas Tupecha un Kavecha Bach. What does it mean at the end of the pasuk? It says, talks about people's mikvecha. So Amar Rabbi Yehuda Marav, Amar LaKadosh Baruch Hu Lechira Melech Sur. Talking about who was a very awful man. B'chan uverasi nekavim ba'adam. I had you in mind when I created people with the need to go to the bathroom. I didn't want people to get too proud and too haughty. So that's a way of saying, hey, don't get too out of yourself. You're still just a regular mortal human being. Vika the Amr Yachi Kamar b'chan takalti and the nasti misal adam arishon. It's because of awful people like you that I made sure that people died in this world. What does it mean? Those who were invited, those who were convened. Anyone wants to go to Yerushalayim can go. This invite only, and that's what the pasuk is saying. Exactly. The tzaddikim are fit to be called by the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shnemar kol hanikra b'shmi v'chvodi b'rasiv yitarti v'apasisiv. And Amar of Shmuel bar Nachmani, Amar of Yochanan, Gimel nikru al shmo shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There are 3 things that are called by the name of Hashem. The Elohim tzaddikim, which is what we just talked about, u'Mashiach Yerushalayim. Tzaddikim Ada Amram. That's that pasuk that we just talked about. It's the pasuk in Yeshaya. Mashiach dichsiv zeh shmo asher yikru Hashem tzidkenu. And Yerushalayim, Yechsiv Saviv Shmona Asar Aleph B'Shem Ma'ir Miyom Hashem Shama. Pasuk Shama, Alter Shama Ella Shma. So Yerushalayim is really called by its name. Amar Rabbi Lazar, I see in the Tzadikim She'omrim Lefneim Kadosh. That one day the Malachim will say Kadosh, like they say about Hashem. We'll say it about the Tzadikim as well. K'derach She'omrim Lefneim Kadosh Baruch Hu. Shenemar V'Haya Hanishar B'Tzion V'Hanos Yerushalayim Kadosh Ye'omer Lo. Okay. Amar Rabbi Yochanan. One day Hashem is going to raise Yerushalayim 3 parsos in the air. Yerushalayim will be lifted up. My tachtea, what does it mean? She'll be in her place. Like the height of it now, it's going to be lifted that much higher. So my height tachtea plus a parsiyama. So how do you know that the height of Yerushalayim is 3 parsos? That it's going to go up 3 parsos in the air.
How much is a parse?
It's all I know from yesterday is it's a very, very, very large amount. I think
1,000.
1,000. I don't know.
No, Jerusalem and Jericho were how many parsos distance? It
I don't
can't be
know.
100.
1,000 almost. I don't know.
Oh, almost it is.
I don't know.
A parsa is valid mean.
Yeah, you know what? We'll figure that out later.
Either way, so we said Yerushalayim is going to go up 3 parsos, which is the height of Yerushalayim currently. So we might the height tachtea plus a parse. How do we know that right now Yerushalayim is 3 parsos? So Amar Rabba, Amar Liyahu Saba is actually interesting. Rabba says Amar Liyahu Saba. I heard from Ahu Saba that Yerushalayim kamaisa uplasi parse haba. Ahu Saba said to Rabba, I saw the first Yerushalayim, and it was 3 parsos. Fascinatingly, Art Scroll points out a famous Tosfos in Chulin. I've never actually done Chulin, but I have heard this Tosfos quoted a whole amount. That Chulin Davav, Tosfos says that when the Gemara says Ahu Saba, it's a reference to Eliyahu Hanavi. So very often in these Gemaras, someone will say, "Oh, Amar Eliyahu Saba." It's a reference to Eliyahu Hanavi, and here Rabbah is saying he had a conversation with Eliyahu Hanavi, and he said that Yerushalayim is 3 parsos. So V'Shem Tomar Yesh Sar Lalos. Well, that means if I have to go up to Yerushalayim, which is 3 parsos in the air, I don't know, maybe that's a pain. That's not great. Talmud Lomar, no, mi ela ka'av to ufena v'chayonam al Yerushalayim. You're gonna like fly like the clouds and like the pigeons. It's not gonna be that difficult to get up there. Amar papa shmamina iba plus a parsi midlay. The altitude of a cloud is this 3 parsos. Amar Chanina bar papa. Bikesh HaKadosh Baruch Hu l'seis es Yerushalayim b'mida. Kadosh Baruch Hu wanted to make Yerushalayim a very fixed size. So we're going to talk about Psukim in Zechariah. So va'omar ana ata holech. So I guess maybe Zechariah saw these Malachi Yasharis that they got measuring tape and stuff like that. He's like, what are you doing? So vayomer Eli lamod es Yerushalayim. I'm coming to measure Yerushalayim. L'ros kama rachma, the kama ark. I need to know. We're starting our project. We got to know the measurements. So Amru Malachi Yasharis Kadosh Baruch Hu, but they said Ribono Shalom. Harbe Krachim Brasa Ba'olam. There are many cities in the world. Shalom Olam. Lo nasati midas arkan midas rachban. You don't put outside of zoning or whatever, but you don't put limits on how big they can be, right? Lo nasati midas arkan midas rachban. But Yerushalayim sheshimcha besocha umiktashcha besocha betzadikim besocha atanosim b'mida. That you're putting a mida miyad b'yomer elav rutz beber lanar halaz lemar. Immediately, Prezot Teshev Yerushalayim Merov Adam V'Masocha. No limits. Yerushalayim is going to be what it's going to be. So they won the argument. Ramar Reish Lakish. Asa Kadosh Baruch Hu lahosif al Yerushalayim. Kadosh Baruch Hu is going to add on to Yerushalayim. Elef Tefes Ginaos, 1,000 times the gematria. Oh, this is the gemara for you, Alan. 1,000 times the gematria of the word Tefeth. That's how many gardens. Elef Kefel Migdalim, 1,000 times the gematria of Kefel towers. Elef Litzui Biranos, Elef times the gematria of Litzui of these castles. Elef Ushnei 1,002 times the gematria of Shilo of Totaf Raos. These are fortresses. And each one of these things are going to be the size of the city of Tzipori in its heyday. This is a way of saying Yerushalayim is going to be massive. Tanya, Amar Rav Yossi, Ani Risi Tzipori b'Shavas. By the way, I saw Tzipori in its heyday. And Bahayuba Mea Ushmonim Elef Shvakim, there were 180,000 marketplaces that were selling chili. So the point is, you think about how big of a city this is. You have so many, exactly 180,000. They were selling this one specific type of pot stew. So you can imagine how big, and that's Tzipori, and all the things that we just talked about. All these gematrias are times, the population of Tzipori. So it's going to be a lot of people. This is the last gemara that we're going to do. So the pasuk in Yechezkel, what does it mean that there's going to be 33 times? Amar Rav Levi, Amar Rav Papi, Mishum Rav Yeshua Desichni, Im Gimel Yerushalayim Heim. If there's going to be, if Yerushalayim is going to be 3 times its present size, Palachas Ba'achas, Yesh Bashloshim Midor Lamala, then I guess each dwelling is going to have like 30 stories or something like that. If Yerushalayim is going to be 30 times the current size, then each residence is going to have 3 stories. But we will end here. It's already 7:43.